So before we get into this morning's session, I'm just going to do a quick presentation to introduce you all to our programs at the Autism Alliance and our Navigator program. So we are guided by the vision that people with autism will lead lives to meet their greatest potential. And the Autism Alliance leads efforts to raise expectations and expand opportunities for people touched by autism across the lifespan. One program here at the Autism Alliance we wanted to share with you all today is our Navigator program, which we view as the heart of our agency. My Navigator is staffed by a team of autism specialists with expertise in many fields, including social work, education, speech, occupational, and behavioral therapies. Our autism specialists work one-on-one with each caller to help them navigate and overcome whatever barrier they may be facing when trying to access care and support for their loved ones affected by autism. The My Navigator program assists not only individuals and their families, but also clinicians and professionals as well. So why call us? In supporting the entire lifespan of autism, our knowledgeable and experienced navigators can help answer and provide information and resources from early childhood autism screenings all the way to end-of-life resources for wills and special needs trusts. So anything in between, we can help assist as well. So how to reach us? Our Navigator line is operating Monday through Friday from 8 to 6. The phone number is 877-463-AAOM. And our email address is navigator@aaomi.org. And a navigator will assist you. Today we are having our navigators in a breakout session as well. If you'd like to connect with them or ask them any questions, feel free to join that on the website. During the session today, if you do have any questions for the presenter, please put them in the Q&A box, which is located at the bottom toolbar. And we welcome you from AAOM to joining our I is for Independence, everyday skills to live more independently at any age.
Good morning. I'm Joanna Lofton, and thank you for joining us today for I is Independence. I want to make sure everyone knows that we will be keeping your audio and video off because we are recording the sessions. And as a reminder, if you do have questions, please do put them in the chat. We will try and get to all of those that we can. And I am leaving space within the presentation for actual questions. But if you have a burning issue, please feel free, put it in the chat and I'll try and answer those. Some that may be too specific or too personal, we would prefer that you put those in the chat and we will make sure that a navigator reaches out to you. Okay, so now, let's get started. Today's learning objectives. We will talk about those early learning tools, those skills that individuals are going to need to best be prepared for adulthood. And keep in mind that if your child is now a young adult, it is never too late to start some of these skills. We'll talk a little about educational supports so that those young adults will be better prepared when they leave school or going out into the workforce. Talk some about those available public resources, what you can use while your individual is still a minor, and also what will be more available to you when they are adults. We'll cover some of the employment opportunities and some of what the parent or caregiver role or responsibilities are. Okay, I can do it is what you really want every young child to feel. So we have to start as early as possible to help them feel positive, feel like they can indeed conquer the world. It is our role as those caregivers to help them to feel confident, feel more independent. Now, how do we do that? We want to start building those self-confidence skills through different acquisitions, primarily in two main areas, be it their daily living skills and developing their emotional development supports. When we talk about those daily living skills, working with them as early as possible on their own personal care. on how they're getting dressed, bathing, their oral hygiene. These will help them be more independent when they become adults, and also being able to take care of those personal care skills will also help them be less likely to be exploited. Mhm. Helping them with those household chores, letting them help clean their own room. It doesn't mean doing the whole task, but pick a specific skill that you want to help them learn, something that they can carry out through their lifetime. Now, I know we're all very busy, and sometimes we think, let me just do it myself. Well, no, we have to give them the opportunity to learn those skills. The bed may not be made perfect, but we want to praise them for their attempts and keep working with them so that they are able to make their bed, so that they're able to get dressed themselves. Using simple things such as when it comes to putting on a shirt, if you lay it down on the bed, face down, when they pick it up, they're going to pick it up correctly so they can put it on and it won't be backward. Think of little ways that you can help them learn those daily living skills. It is also important that they have a good emotional development, helping them learn how to make choices early, letting them determine what they want to wear, helping them with finish this first, then this next. Time management. Time management is extremely important, and it's not just about telling time. It is also about how time passes throughout the day. That will help them with getting tasks done so that when they are living on their own, they know what I have to do in the morning, the middle of the day, the afternoon, and the evening, what they will have to do when they're getting a job so that they know I have to be on time to go to work, do my job, take my breaks, come back when I should. So time management is extremely important with helping them with their own emotional development. One of the tools you can use, especially when they are young, are personal profiles. A personal profile is a great tool to help one introduce them to other people about who they are, what their likes and dislikes are, how to best support their needs, and help others who don't know them understand them. I particularly like using them when it's working with new staff or in school environment, especially with that substitute teacher or that bus driver. They don't know them. They don't know their needs. It's also a great tool to help the family understand your child, those individuals they don't interact with every day. Using it in the community for social environments. Here's an example of two personal profiles for young children. They can be as complicated or as simple. It doesn't matter. The idea is they grow with them as they mature. And there's a toolbox that accompanies this workshop. And in that toolbox will be this example of a actual statement that you can use for a profile. Are there any particular questions anyone may have about how you use a personal profile or those tools that you can use when they're in those early emerging skills? And I can also tell you that within about a week, this particular session will be on our website along with toolbox with things that you can use, such as the personal profile, to help you to build on those independent tools.
There is a question, Joanna. Do you involve the child in the meeting when creating the personal profile?
Yes. It is extremely helpful, one, to involve them because they can actually tell you more about what they like and don't like. It also gives them a more sense of independence because they know it's about them and helps with those communication skills. And as they grow, those personal profiles can get more complicated and talk more about what they want, what their desires are, it helps to build more independence if you also involve them.
Thank you. Can you share again, will this toolkit be shared after the presentation?
It will be on the website in about a week at the same time that the presentation will be available, so that you can go in and just the way you registered for the actual conference today, you can actually go in and watch the actual presentation again. And you can also use the toolbox and take bits and pieces out of what may be helpful to you. Educational supports. When we talk about educational supports, there are many ways in which we can use the school system to help prepare our young child or those adolescents for independence. When looking at the school system, we talk about that IEP, that individualized education plan. First, you want to make sure it is definitely individualized based on your child's needs. It should work on focusing on their academics, but also those social emotional needs. Make sure that it includes those ancillary services, such as social work services. That's where you can help your child learn to be more independent, help them with working on those social cues, especially when it comes to middle schools and those friendships that start to make that will be lasting out hopefully throughout a lifetime. Always use the ancillary services. One of the services most people don't think about is mobility training as part of that plan. Mobility training is not like using wheelchairs like so many people think of. It is, how do I get from point A to point B? If you can help them within mobility training to learn how to navigate their school environment and their community, they will be more independent as adults. Such things as, let's say as an adult, they need to go to the dentist. How do I leave out of my house safely, lock that door? How do I walk to the curb and get the bus? How do I actually use a bus service? How do I, once I get to that building where the dentist's office is, read the actual directory to find the room number? And how do I get into the elevator, get the right floor, and get to the office? That is mobility training. The schools can help you with that if it's included in the IEP on a lesser scale of navigating the world of the school environment. Then they will be able to navigate the world at large. For those who do not qualify for an IEP, you want to also utilize a 504 plan. A 504 plan is primarily used for augmenting how it is presented, how the information is presented to them. It is also works on setting and timing. Setting meaning maybe I need a quieter space to do my schoolwork, or maybe I need more time to actually take a test or to turn in my homework. So that can be included in a 504 plan. You can also include social work services in that 504 plan for those who do not, again, qualify for an IEP. When we're looking at post-high school education, where is my child going to learn those skills so that they can be more productive? There are primarily 3 areas, which would be your universities and colleges. They all have a disability services department. You will find those, though, more challenging because there are no IEPs once they're in high school, out of high school, but in college. Then there is also the advantage of using a community college, where you will find that it is a much smaller environment. They also have a disability services. The other option is always the vocational and technical schools. The good thing about the vocational and technical programs is generally there is more hands-on assistance with those individuals, but they also do have a disability services department.
Okay, Joanna, there are a few in the Q&A. So how are older adults able to learn these skills? As a middle-aged individual with ASD type 2, I have found it impossible to access adaptive skills training.
As an older individual who is no longer within the school system, you want to utilize, you can utilize MRS for teaching some of those skills, and we'll get into that later. You can also, a valuable opportunity is using the community mental health services. And I'll talk more about community mental health and how you access their services and how you also can get them to help you with learning those skills.
And the next is, to support independence, do you recommend a particular free resource to create a visual template?
There are some that are actually in our toolkit that you can utilize. And also there are some on the websites. But you can be creative. It's really about what works for that individual. Some of them prefer just pictures. The idea is to actually capture their information. So now let's talk about those public resources and what is actually out there and is available that you want to use. Again, as I was saying, community mental health, that's going to be one of your best areas for support. For those who need to utilize community mental health services, you access those through Medicaid. If Medicaid pays for all those services. Community mental health is, you will get a support coordinator. That individual is there to actually coordinate and create a plan similar to an IEP based on what your needs are. Some of the services that you can get through community mental health you see here are mental health therapy, psychiatric intervention if that's what you need. Those social activities, they can help you with getting out into the community and actually teaching you real skills. Using community living support, you can actually acquire a staff person to help you with learning a basic skill that's written into that plan so they can be more independent. And if you qualify for Medicaid while they are an adolescent, you can use these services. But also once they are an adult, those services are still available to them because now they will qualify for Medicaid because they have not been working. One of the important things that I do like about community mental health is the opportunity for parents or caregivers to use respite services. That's there just to give you a break. We are busy people. We are busy in our lives taking care of everybody and oftentimes not taking care of ourselves. So using respite, we'll have someone that can spend time with them so you can take a simple break. There are also camps that are available, and these are for individuals of all ages that can go to the camp and spend time there with other individuals while you can have time for yourself. Community mental health services can work on all the skills that an individual might need. Now, I will admit it is difficult finding good staff right now, but that is something that they are actually working on that we're in hopes will improve over time so that you can have someone that will actually help you. Here is an example of another personal profile. Now we have a teenager, a young adult. As you can see, it has gotten a little more complicated, a little more details. It talks more about him. So they can grow with the individual. Do them over and over. Even as adults, you can still use a personal profile. Now about Medicaid and Medicare, understanding that Medicaid is indeed income-based. And that is the way you want to access the mental health service system. It does have income limits. So as they look at the income of the entire family when an individual is an adolescent. The good thing about once they turn 18, they're now only looking at that individual's income because they are really a household of one. And so therefore they should qualify for Medicaid. Uh, Medicare is not income-based. Medicare is actually a service. You can obtain Medicare at age 26 through age 65 if you have a disability. You will keep your Medicaid along with Medicare. You cannot access mental health services, which are so important to our individuals with disabilities, using Medicare. Another important thing about getting Medicare and Medicaid, if your family has insurance, private insurance, check with your insurance company and see if they can stay on your insurance past the age of 26, because they can have both. And that way they have the opportunity to get more services on your plan along with using Medicare and Medicaid. When we talk about supplemental Social Security income, it is indeed for adults and children with disabilities. Currently for this year, the income limit is actually, this year's income limit is $27,794 is the actual income limit for this year. It is disability based, but Social Security actually has 18 pages of qualified disabilities, of which autism is one of them. Supplemental Social Security is one of the ways of helping as an adult to pay for some of those things that they want to do, their personal care needs. One of the things you want to help them do as an adult is working on transportation. Again, these are things that the school can help you with. These are things that community mental health can help you with. When it comes to getting on the bus, you can also use through community mental health what's called a shadow individual, which is working with them on that skill of getting on a bus, catching a cab or Uber or Lyft. And then that shadow person, when they're on the bus, they won't even know they're on there, but it gives them the opportunity to do it on their own, but within a safe environment, because there's an individual on the bus watching just to make sure that nothing goes wrong. Utilizing your public paratransit authority, there is curb-to-curb services for those individuals, helping them learn how to read the bus schedule. Remember, you can do all of these things anytime throughout their lifespan. It's the earlier you do them, the more independent they will be when they become adults. When we talk about transportation, many of our individuals want to drive. There are specialized driving instructions that they can get for driver's training. They can also get a restricted driver's license, which says that they may only be able to drive between 8 and 4 in a day and not do any night driving. One of the things I do like is they have just started as of this year a disability designation on a license or state ID. It's not actually on the ID, but it is in their system. So if they were ever stopped, say by a police officer, when they look up their driver's license, it will show in their system, this is an individual with a disability. If they look at their state ID, it will show in their system, this is an individual with a disability, which also provides some protection for them being out in the community and individuals not understanding that this is an individual with a disability and not someone who's being aggressive. So it's a little bit more protection for them. There is also the written practice test for driving skills, which has all of the actual questions for actually getting your driver's license for that written test. And you can go online, they can take that as often as they need to in order to be prepared to actually take the written test. When they're an adult, we have to think about where are they going to live? And when you want to think about that, it's things to consider are they can live in their own home. You are entitled as an adult to own a home and own a car. and that will not affect your benefits. You can own the car even if you can't drive. It is there for your use, for someone else to drive you. You want to consider where they want to live. Is it an apartment? Are they talking about they want to live in the country, in the suburbs, in the heart of the city? Think about where that individual wants to live. Available services include the Housing Choice Voucher, which was previously called Section 8. If you're considering that, you want to make sure that they get on the list early, because that can take a long time. It varies from area to area. There is always a waiting list. Sometimes in some places, like in Wayne County, there are waiting lists to get on the waiting list. But if that is something you're considering, you want to make sure that you get on the list. Then for those who may need more assistance, there is the group home process where they could live in a group home, or even more severely impaired could live in a residential facilities. When we look at all of these areas, again, it goes back to your community mental health and that supports coordinator to help you with finding the appropriate group home, the appropriate residential facility, helping you with finding an apartment, or helping you get set on the Housing Choice Voucher. When you're talking about where an individual is going to live, things you need to consider is financial support. Can they afford it? How safe are they going to be? Are they going to remember to lock the doors? Are they going to be able to live safely in their home without starting fires? What kind of independent living skills they have, and who is going to be able to assist them? Again, community living supports can come in and help make sure those things are being done. How able are they to communicate their wants, their desires, their needs? It's important that every individual have some form of communication skill. If it's not verbal, that it is sign language, PAC skills, or using some form of technology. That will also help them navigate in their community, because they'll be able to communicate with other people. It will also help with some of those who have a lot of behaviors, because the behavior is indeed language for those who don't have enough language to communicate their needs. How well can they navigate their community? Maybe they need a smaller environment to live in. Also looking at their mental and physical health, when you're looking at how an individual can live on their own, and in what kind of environment. And this chart is also in the toolkit when we're looking at individuals with autism and what kind of a living arrangements are available, from those institutional placements for those who are more severe, and what the kind of supports they would get there, because that is the greatest isolation, the greatest level of need and support. And we look at long-term environments. Then we can look at, is there family or individuals they can live with, like a guardian, and what kind of supports they would need in that kind of environment. And for those who need even more, there are the group homes and farmstead environments. And those individuals living in a home or an apartment with other individuals whom the community mental health can help with the group home settings. Then there is supervised living for those who need more support. That is a different type of setting. And then we have those individuals who just need some supported living, where someone is coming in and helping them out. They're pretty independent, but need, making sure they are safe, making sure they are able to get to the grocery store. That would be your least needs. One of the things that is extremely important that I think will help out our individuals and how they live is the home and community-based service rule. When we look at that, the idea is that an individual should live in their community if at all possible, with supports and services. It gives them an opportunity to actually be employed because they're in the appropriate environment. It gives them the ability to engage in actual community life and keeping friendships with the appropriate age individuals. We have a number of individuals who are actually in the nursing homes, and they are 25, 26 years old, and their closest friends are the 70, 80-year-olds because they're in a nursing home. Not an appropriate environment for them. They should be in their community. That's what the rule is about, so they can have friendships of their same age peers. It also ensures that those individuals have their rights for privacy, for dignity and respect, including a lock on their doors. It gives them the opportunity to make their own life choices of where they want to live. When an individual is in a group home or a facility, that rule also applies to them. That they should have a lease or legally enforceable provide protections if they're in a group home, that it is licensed. An individual is entitled to have a lock on their doors, a choice of who they live with. They should have the opportunity to decorate that group home or facility the way they want, and a right to have their own schedule, including access to food or who visits them. If you can imagine what life would be like if you were on a Saturday morning and you felt like you were going to sleep in for a while, and then at 7 o'clock, someone comes in, opens up the curtains, turns on the lights, and says, okay, get up, time to get up. Okay, here are your clothes for today. Put these on, and we're going to be eating at 8:30. Then after we eat, we're going to go out in the yard and we're going to play for a while. We've got to go and actually do your grocery shopping today. And then after we do that, we're going to come back, and by 2 o'clock, it's going to be downtime. You're going to have dinner at 5. That is not living a free and enjoyable life. The home and community-based rule says that these individuals should have a life similar to what they would have if they were living on their own in the community. Okay, do we have any questions at this point?
There is one that is, would CMH assist in finding a roommate so that one could live in an apartment?
Yes, there's CMH, and also there are a couple of other organizations that will help with helping you with finding a similar individual that you could live in an apartment together. The good thing about going through CMH for that is if you have CMH services, you could have community living supports coming in, your staff coming in to help you. And then if you have another individual who is also receiving those services, they could have their staff coming in at a different time. So that would be coordinated. So you have more around the 24-hour supports. That's the ideal way, because that way community mental health can help you with creating your budget so that you share the weight of all of the services, and you would share with that roommate who's going to do what, and they can help you work out a plan. So they can help you.
Okay, and one more. Does the state pay for group home living, or is that up to the recipient and family?
The group homes are managed through the state. It is actually paid through Medicaid and also through that individual's SSI. It also pays part of that. They will be allowed a portion of the money for spending money, but the majority of it goes through the group home payment. Any other questions? Okay. So now let's talk a little bit about employment opportunities. And remember that individuals are always better off working at whatever level they are able to. Working does a lot for an individual other than just the money. A lot of individuals want to know how I can get a job and then how I can keep it. Getting the job is the easy part. Keeping it is what is more difficult. You want to start early. One of the ways of learning those job skills is through volunteering. Volunteering helps them learn, how to be a part of a team, how to pick up those skills for going to work, getting those skills for doing a job, being recommended by someone else to say, I did a good job, so that you can build that into a resume. It helps them with learning, okay, I have to take a break, but then I have to go back to work. So volunteering is a good way to explore different opportunities for employment. Doing a good volunteer job at a place could lead to actual employment. It helps if you can focus on that individual's key interests, so that would be where they would actually be working and something they enjoy doing and they're interested in. Just a quick story, there was a young lady who had said she wanted to own a Starbucks. She had always wanted to have this Starbucks. Well, she wasn't really capable of running a Starbucks per se. So we looked at what was it about that Starbucks that she enjoyed. She enjoyed the smell of coffee. She enjoyed working and talking to people every day. It was that involvement in her community that she enjoyed. So what ended up with, she got a job actually working in the hospital at the coffee shop kiosk in the hospital, which actually met her needs. It was her own little Starbucks is how she saw it, because she got to talk to people every day. She loved the smell of coffee. So take whatever their key interest is and use that for looking for opportunities for practicing the work skills, for actually volunteering at. You want to practice also those social skills. It's not the job itself that keeps them from keeping the job. It's those social skills, those soft skills is what keeps them from actually losing their job. Yeah. Using schedules in their daily life will help them when it comes to keeping a job. Think in terms of also when it comes to the education and using agencies. Those transition plans in high school to help them to transition from actual school to the work environment or the community. Using Michigan Rehabilitative Services, which is free for individuals with disabilities, and they will work on skills, helping them to find a job and supporting them on the job. Also, community mental health can also practice some of those job skills, and also can even help with even transportation to and from jobs often. When we talk about MRS, MRS is a service for individuals to help with getting employed. Employed means a number of things for them. It is helping you in school with that job exploration, doing internships. It can also help you with finding summer jobs for those individuals. MRS is there to help with, like I said, those work-based learning experiences. So when they leave school, they are able to actually get a job because they've learned some of those skills. They can also help with the counseling and post-secondary education, and also helping pay for some of that education or some of those specific tools that they may need in order to access education. Because education leads to employment. That is what they're looking at, is I can help with college, or they can help with those training programs and helping to pay for some of those, or the specific tools you may need, or different educational materials you may need, because it's going to lead towards employment. Looking at those workplace readiness skills and helping you to learn those. They can help those individuals, those youth with those self-advocacy trainings. How do I talk up for myself? How do I ask for what I need? So they can include having a peer mentor so that you learn about those services. When we talk about MRS for the young adults, they will help you discover some of your interests and talents based on some of the trainings and some of the actual testing they can do. They can help you with learning about different kinds of jobs. You can also use such things as career cruising while you're in school to look at different jobs and what it is that they might look like, so you can help discover what your interests might be for employment. MRS will help you with developing those employment goals for what do you need to do in order to create that plan so you can have an actual job. They will look at, what are the assistive technologies you might need in order to keep a job, in order to get the kind of job that you want. Learning about the Americans with Disability Act also helps because that's where you get those accommodations for school and or on the job. They can also assist you with obtaining and maintaining your job so that you are hopefully stable enough to work on your own without their services. Now, AOM Upbound Employment Program, we are an actual partner with MRS. So we work with the employers, for one, in increasing their education about individuals with autism and the benefits of hiring an individual on the spectrum. We also will support that individual on the job and help them with understanding how to actually follow up and follow through on that employment. We do assist potential employees with preparing for the jobs, doing such things as resume writing with them, that professional photo they may need. We have several professional interview coaches that will help you with learning how to actually interview well. And we connect you with those potential employers and again, support you on that job, along with that employer. It's supporting them and helping them to better work with an individual who's on the spectrum. I'm very proud of our program, and there is a job for everyone. Okay. Any questions at this point?
So some of the questions in the Q&A would probably be best answered with a one-on-one navigator. So I think right now we can keep moving on. Okay.
When you're getting employed, a My Able account is a very good advantage for individuals with disabilities to work and actually have a better quality of life. My Able is Michigan Able. It stands for Achieving a Better Life Experience. Okay, now what is a My Able account and why is it so important? It was signed into law by President Obama in 2014. The idea behind an ABLE account is an individual who has a disability who is receiving public services such as SSI or Medicaid are limited to only having $2,000 in actual assets of cash. So it's hard to work and maintain that income level of $2,000 in cash and have a decent quality of life. With the My Able account, you can actually save a lot more money, have a better quality of life, and not lose any of your public services like SSI or Medicaid. The program itself is managed by the Department of Treasury. It's not through any bank. But what it does is it gives you the opportunity to actually make more money, have a higher quality of life. You can be more independent And we all know working improves your emotional and mental health. A money in an Enable account also can grow because you can invest them. It is tax-free. Now, how do you get an Enable account? First, you must have a disability that started before age 26. It is advantageous that you have documentation, although you can self-identify as an individual with a disability. When you do that, you end up going online and you can fill out the application for an Enable account. The good thing about an Enable account is you can save up to $15,000 a year in an Enable account, not lose any of your benefits. You can save up to $100,000 in that account over time before you would lose your SSI benefit. However, once that account falls below $100,000, your SSI kicks right back in. You don't have to reapply. You can save up to $300,000 in your account before you would lose your Medicaid. But here you see you have options. You can have a much quality of life, better quality of life. It will make a difference as to where you live, what you do with your daily life. You can have opportunities to live like your same age peers. Now, you have to use an Enable account, though, for qualified expenses for that individual. And that's pretty broad. Primarily, they say for education, housing and transportation. So you could use it to pay for Uber or Lyft, or if you're taking a trip, pay for your transportation. For employment training, if you want to take a class, you could pay for it through that. For buying assistive technology, such as maybe there is a particular kind of iPad that individual needs because of their vision, that will help them have better quality of life. Pay for their legal expenses that they may have. You can also, through an Enable account, pay for those funeral expenses. The idea for an Enable account is you want to spend the money on them having a better quality of life. Technically, the only thing you really can't spend the money for that individual is for drugs, alcohol, firearms, and for illegal things such as prostitution. Now, there's a caveat in there in a way when it comes to drugs. If it is marijuana, if it is by prescription, that would be a qualified expense. So the idea is for an Enable account to be used for that individual to have a better quality of life. Now, one of the drawbacks for an Enable account, if you look at it, is that money that is in an Enable account when an individual passes, that money goes to the back to Medicaid because they've given you all the money over the years. So spend it is the idea, spend it. One thing you can do, though, if that individual has a sibling who also has a disability and that individual passes, you can roll that money over into the sibling's account. So there are a lot of ways to use an Enable account to help that individual have a much higher quality of life. You can also have other members now, family members and friends can actually contribute to their Enable account so that money grows even faster. I would strongly suggest that you look into an Enable account. It can be extremely beneficial for an individual's quality of life. They could work. They could actually make, real money and put it away for their quality of life. And now I want to talk a little bit about the parent's role and resources that are available. And remembering that you are more of a supporter and a guide as they grow and develop and as they become more independent. Okay. You want to be that individual's biggest supporter. And sometimes it's really hard in that we need to let them fail, let them try things. It's really hard, to see our loved ones fail. But in that failing, they actually learn. But we as a supporter are there to help them get back up and try again, or maybe to help them direct those energies in a different direction, but support them in what they want out of life. We want to be able to give them more responsibilities as they grow. So that they will have those daily living skills so they can live more independently. And again, the sooner you start, the better. You want to support their goals and their dreams. We all have lots of dreams for our children, but we need to also focus on what are their goals in life and what are their dreams and support them in getting there. And finding long-term social group involvements is great because you look at those involvements where they can create relationships that can last throughout the lifetime. Such things as getting them involved even as teenagers through the ARC, support groups, even your religious organizations. That is someplace they can have friendships that will last until they are 60, 70, whatever. Okay. You want to also think in terms of fading back. When is too much support too much? Like for those teenagers, we can take them into social situations, but we don't have to stand next to them. We want to think of when we fade out of the picture to let them be able to use those skills that they've learned. You want to be able to fade back in their life so you are the bystander and not the person controlling it. Now, we want to start thinking about their future and whether or not guardianship is appropriate. Start thinking around 16, 17. Is it guardianship? Maybe yes, maybe no. There are options. When we talk about guardianship, there is partial or full guardianship. My personal preference is not full guardianship, to get partial if possible. You can get guardianship over medical, legal, financial, whatever you think the need may be. Full guardianship means you making all of their decisions in life, from what they eat, where they dress. They cannot vote, but full guardianship may be necessary, but you need to look at what's going to be appropriate for this individual. And also thinking in terms of maybe it is full guardianship they need for now and backing off later. Full guardianship generally only lasts for 5 years, and then you have to re-up. And it's through the probate court and determining through a judge what is appropriate for that individual. If you don't want to do guardianship, your other option is power of attorney. You can get power of attorney for medical, legal, financial. There's also a mental health one I did not include there. Preparing for that future, special needs trust and wills are important. Many people think, oh, I don't have anything, that I need to do a will or a trust for. I don't have a lot. I'm not rich. You don't have to be rich, but you need to use things that will protect them once you are no longer around. So wills and trusts help to keep their income limit down. With a special needs trust, those things don't belong to the individual that you leave them. It belongs to the trust for their use. That way they don't get into trouble when it comes to having too many assets and lose their Social Security or Medicaid. If you do a special needs trust, make sure it is an irrevocable trust so that upon your death, that individual cannot have access to making changes to the trust, because Social Security will look at that as potential assets and they will lose their Social Security. Make sure that you do your will so that everyone is clear as to what they want what you want them to do with your assets. If you choose not to do any of those, but you think that they may need some assistance with their managing their Social Security, you can become the representative payee so that it comes to you for you to access and utilize in their behalf. Also, those insurance policies, a lot of times it is the other relatives who mean well, or the grandmother or something, that will leave that individual money in an insurance policy. That's when it's beneficial to have a trust. So the insurance policy is for that individual is left in the name of the trust and not in their name, so that they don't get into trouble when it comes to their finances. Now, for the parent or caregiver, it is important that you do your own self-care. We are so busy taking care of everyone else, but you have to do your own self-care so that you can continue to be there for individuals who may need you. And also so that as they move on, you still are having your own life. It's important that you find your own tribe. Find people who are like-minded, who can support you as the individual, not you as the parent or the caregiver. Get some daily me time. And I know this is hard, but 15 minutes a day is what I ideally tell people. If you can just squeeze out 15 minutes a day for yourself to go in someplace quiet and have a cup of coffee, a cup of tea. Sometimes I've had families who have just gone and sat in the garage. It's me time. Go for a walk, so that you can have minutes to regroup for yourself. If you're still working, park down the block on your way home, sit in the car and just listen to some music, relax, but you have to take care of yourself, both physically and mentally. You want to try and develop a new interest. Maybe there's something you thought about doing 10, 15 years ago, and you got busy with life and never did it. Pick that back up, or create a new trend, a new interest. Try something new, so that you have an opportunity to renew yourself. Make sure we take care of your own personal health. If someone else in the family is sick, we make sure they get to the doctor. Make sure you get to the doctor the same way you take care of them. Taking care of your own mental health. It is very stressful taking care of an individual and helping them build a life. So take care of your own mental health. It's okay to seek out help. It's okay to have a good support system. Some of the things you can do is actually join an actual parent support group. And if there isn't one, create one. There are a lot of them now that are online, so find someone to help support you. Sometimes you just need someone else you can vent to and not be judged by. Find someone that can support your needs, that can give you a break. Maybe it is having someone that can come over and stay with your individual who can't be by themselves for just an hour so you can go do something. Take a class, take a class online. There are so many things that are online now that are free. Take a class. It's better if it's in person because you get an opportunity to interact with people. But if you can't, then take a class online. The ARC of Michigan has a lot of supports for the individual with disabilities. They have some social events. So when that individual is at that social event, take some time for yourself. Spiritual organizations are great. They're a great way to take care of yourself and that individual, of getting supported with other like-minded individuals. Don't be afraid of therapy. Therapy is that one moment where it is devoted totally to you and your needs. Don't be afraid of therapy. There's no shame in it. And I think personally, the entire world needs therapy. Medication if you need it. I'm not saying go get medication, but if you need it, it's okay. If that's what it's going to take for you to be more yourself, if that's what it's going to take for you to take care of yourself. Respite services are great. There are adult respite programs for day programs where your individual could go if need be. There is through community mental health, you can get individuals to come in again and spend time with your individual with a disability. Again, there are those camps, and some of the camps are weekends. There are camps that you can go, they can go away for a week or two. And so that also is good for you mentally.
So Joanna, this one came up in regards to the guardianship piece. If
Yes.
the child's over 18, what's the appropriate way to go for the person to be, if they have an accident, for the person to be contacted? Is that power of attorney only?
I'm sorry, repeat the question again.
Sure. If the child is over 18, what is an appropriate way to go? So if the person has an accident, how would you be notified? Is it power of attorney only, or do guardians get notified in accidents?
Guardians would also get notified. Power of attorney helps you when you are, if an individual's in an accident and they say that individual is taken to the hospital, then because they're an adult, they will be treated like an adult. If you have medical power of attorney, then you would have to take that with you and show, I have medical power of attorney for this individuals, and you can make those decisions for them. If you have guardianship, then they have to contact you as the individual who could make those decisions. Another thing about that, as an adult, it is important that they have identification on them. That's why that driver's license or that state ID is so important, because they may not always be with us. So make sure that that information is on them. Who do they contact if there is an accident or if they're at the police station? Because the actual officer would not know. If that individual could not talk, they would have no way of knowing who they were or no way of knowing who to contact. So it's always important that they have some form of ID. You can get a state ID for your teenagers. And if it's a very young child, you can also, there are ID cards you can get also to help to make sure that they know, anyone who sees them knows who they are and who to contact. So now, and you'll be thankful to know there will not be a poll, but just to recap where we are, it's never too early to start. It's never too late to start. Work on skills where they are. If they are 5, let them start making decisions for themselves. Let them start helping around the house. It not only helps to build those skills for independence when they are in school, but also throughout their adult life. One of the ways for very young children in particular to help learn that self-esteem and independence, let's say it's getting a card for grandma's birthday. You pick out 3 cards that are appropriate. Let them decide which one of those 3. Praise them. We all love praise. Start early on those independent skills. If your individual is in their 20s and they don't know how to do those things, it's not too late. It's never too late to work on how they're going to be as an adult, because we all age, and what the skills that they need at 10, they're going to need at 15. The skills they are using at 15, they're going to need at 25, 35, 45. It's just a different level of those skills. Remember to allow them to fail. Be there as a resource, and they help guide them. We want to remember that everyone can have a job of some level, and what employment does for them, not only financially, but emotionally. Using the personal profiles throughout their lifetime. They just get more sophisticated as they grow. Helping them learn safety skills. If they don't have them now, start working on those safety skills because they're going to need them. Individuals who are on the spectrum can live a normal lifespan. So we have to keep looking forward that we know someday this individual is going to be 50, 60, 70. So we want to put things in place now at whatever age they are so that they will be taken care of and have the best quality of life when they are in their senior years. Want to think in terms of taking care of yourself as that caregiver. That helps you have longevity, finding your tribe, finding new interests, taking care of yourself. There are so many things that can be done. It's small steps. Small steps will end up getting them to where they want to be as an individual when they're older. Remember that in about a week, the trainings will be up on our website, along with there will be a toolkit for this workshop, which will include things like visual schedules that you can use, grocery lists, how to help them learning how to grocery shop, how to do laundry, how to actually cook. It amazed me with one of my coworkers who recently did a question on how do you make a sandwich? How do you make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? There are a lot of skills and tasks that go into actually making a sandwich. But even teaching them something as simple as it seems as making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich will actually help them learn the skills of processing first, then this, then next. If they can make a sandwich, they can end up learning how to use the microwave. They will end up learning how to cook for themselves and not be so dependent or so vulnerable on other people. I hope I gave you some information that will help you. If you find you need more assistance, please reach out to a navigator, because a navigator will definitely help you with whatever the area you might need. And I do thank you all. And if there are no additional questions, I would say, please visit our navigator table. Thank you all.